Welcome to Inside Politics, our weekly podcast on 6 to 8 things you need to know about San Antonio politics. I'm Greg Jefferson, politics editor of the San Antonio Express-News, and I'm joined today by reporter Madison Iszler.
Hello.
And our special guest, the general counsel of Spurs Sports Entertainment, Bobby Perez. Hey, how's it going?
Good morning, guys. Greg, Madison, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our discussion today.
All right. So let's talk about Prop B, which is $311 million in venue tax from the county going into a new Spurs arena. Now, I'm sure Spurs Sports and Entertainment did not wake up one morning and say, you know what, we need a new arena. Frost Bank Center is not cutting it. We need a new venue. So kind of walk me through how that evolved.
Sure. And again, thanks for the time and to discuss this really important issue that's quite frankly, the early voting starts a week from yesterday. Yeah. So we are on the cusp of it. Yeah. One of the things that we've been sharing with the public as we talk in all our community meetings, the ideation around what is next for the Spurs began pre-COVID. At that time, we knew our lease was ending in 2032. Mm-hmm. We were building a new practice facility, which was constructed. We started that in 2020, actual construction, 2020-21. Mm-hmm. And we're planning on that. And we knew the next phase was what is next on the grounds. And so we started brainstorming with the rodeo county, sat down in some really long planning sessions that probably took about a year. And through those discussions, there was a couple of threshold things that we learned. One, the growth of the rodeo, the growth of our organization far exceeded what anybody ever planned for in 1999. The rodeo is one of the best in the United States, transacts over 1 million people in that 30 days of activity. And we grew from 60 employees to 500 employees full time. And so 2 roommates that outgrew the house. Mm-hmm. And so as we started ideating about that, we tried to figure out how do we grow together. Mm-hmm. And one thing that became very clear in really short order amongst both our organizations was we needed to do something different. Mm-hmm. The rodeo wanted to grow. They needed more dates. We needed to be more urban in order to compete in a modern NBA and what an NBA team requires. So that's how it started.
So when you say you didn't literally outgrow the house, though, because my understanding is the arena at Hemisphere would actually be, the footprint would be smaller, would it not? And have just slightly fewer seats than the Frost Bank Center. So you're not talking about like actual fan capacity.
No, so not. It's a great point. Not actual capacity. We haven't set a new capacity or new limits or done a design, but the order of operations. Right. And so when you think about how fans engage, and when we started dreaming about the opportunities of what could be next, we wanted to think what would be not only for us, but for San Antonio. And how do we dream about placemaking? So part of our exercise, and we did a lot of this during that cycle, was seeing what's happening across the United States and in some instances across the world. And many people in our community are not NBA fans, but they're fans of our community and they're fans of place.
You don't say. I don't believe it.
And I think we're always looking for places to go take our families and our friends and our children and our grandchildren. And, and that's what we're talking about, the opportunity to build community.
So at that point, you hadn't made any firm decisions. You're talking with the rodeo. You're talking with the county. And did your attention automatically go to this Hemisphere site downtown, or were you looking around, not only around different parts of San Antonio, but did you look, as long as you were kind of going through this planning exercise, did you look at, like San Marcos or anything in between here in Austin?
We were focused on San Antonio.
So no, you weren't looking.
No, we were focused on San Antonio, and we were building a brand new practice facility that was at 1604 and I-10, which has great placemaking. Right. And if you guys haven't been, we invite you to go out there and take a look and see what the public space is like. We think it's turned out well, and it will be even greater. And so as we're ideating on location, the city reached out and said, what do you guys think about this? That's the way the discussion started.
When was that?
It's probably been a couple years now.
Yeah.
Did the city propose the Institute of Text and Culture site, or did the city more generally say, are you interested in coming downtown?
I think the concept was very similar to what the community has seen, a very broad grand plan that included that southwest corner of downtown.
And what made that site in particular, downtown, attractive to the Spurs, as opposed to downtown's not that big, but there are other spots where you could have built an arena? What makes that site appealing?
So I think with our leadership, the Holt family, a real focus on reinvesting in the downtown core of San Antonio. This is a great opportunity to have the Spurs operate, play, placemake in our core central business district. And I think we're believers of all great cities have to have vibrant cores, and we think this is part of it. This is a real investment by our company to grow and reinvigorate a section of our community, quite frankly, that has been vacant and underutilized. Check me on the math, but for well over a decade, maybe even longer.
Yeah. Now, as you know, like there are a lot of raw feelings among residents on the east side who just felt like they got some at least implied promises in 1999 when we had the first venue tax election to pay for what became the Frost Bank Center. And they just felt like that they believed there were assurances of economic growth that never happened. The Spurs organization, you're an NBA team, but you're the marquee tenant of that facility. Do you feel any ownership of that? Do you feel when they complain and say that they weren't treated fairly? What's your role in that?
Greg, I'm born and raised in San Antonio, and I think like our organization, the Spurs in San Antonio are synonymous with our community, and we absolutely take ownership in that, and we want to make it better. And we think not only Proposition B, but Proposition A,
which is $192 million to kind of revitalize the Coliseum grounds.
Absolutely, and our current site partner, Sale, the rodeo, along with the county, they have some pretty neat plans to continue that and expand the opportunity to grow the east side and make it a vibrant location in its own right. And then that same opportunity existing in downtown San Antonio. And yes, we think this is part of that exercise.
Right. Now, almost a little over 2 years ago, Madison and I started reporting on the talks between the city and the Spurs for downtown arena. At the time, we contacted Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai just to get his take, find out what he thought about it. And I think we were actually a little surprised. He was caught unawares. He did not know the Spurs were talking with the city. Why is that? Why didn't you bring in your current landlord to say, hey, there's a chance we're not going to renew this lease. House is too small.
Yeah, and I think those early studies that occurred with the county were with the Coliseum Advisory Board. So that's our day-to-day landlord operations. And as soon that first order of operations was with CAB and Sale, and that's the entity that we spent quite a bit of over a year on studying that site. Then the second order of operations was when the city reached out to us, and that's when we reached out to the county. Yeah. It happened fairly quickly.
Okay.
When you were working with Sale during these discussions, at any point did you look at potentially renovating the Frost Bank Center, what that would cost, what that would look like if you could make around the Frost Bank Center, or was that kind of off the table from the beginning?
I think the two threshold orders of operations, right, is what does the rodeo need to grow more? What did we need to grow more? So as we were answering those threshold issues, we also kind of did some site planning. One of the things that the rodeo needed was more days and more space. And if you overlap our calendars, our season will start in October, and we always hope to end in June, but October to April, maybe we play in playoffs a little later. The rodeo is in February. And that's when our team moves out and for 30 days we're gone. So that was kind of an issue number one, because the rodeo wants to grow before and grow after that, and it's hard to run a basketball schedule. So that was a problem. The second issue was the way we wanted to grow. The rodeo needs the outside space. They need the 8,000 parking slots. We wanted to be more dense. And so people can show up earlier, stay later, activate around community. That was probably those two main things that made us recognize that going through that exercise of renovation didn't make a lot of sense.
Now, are you concerned at all that, it sounds to me like what you're proposing is, it's a very urban project, kind of unlike anything San Antonio has really experimented with before. This is not like the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Yeah. So what about getting there? Like, are you worried about transit and getting fans in and out? Because there's not going to be a ton of parking. I mean, and we're not a bus city and we don't have a subway.
That's a great point too. And as we travel throughout the community and talking to people, once we share the information that this is funded by tourists and not local San Antonians, that's probably the next most popular question that we kind of get into is how do you get there and how do you manage? So I think there's a couple of key points that we've been studying. One, there'll be on-site parking that will be part of our plan. 2,000, 3,000 parking spaces in the garage. The second part, and I think we've seen this work well for Final Four recently, VIA has reactivated the Robert Thompson Transit Center, which has also been underutilized. We think that's a key component to move people not only from Crossroads Mall, but from the two park and rides in the southern sector, from the brand new park and ride on 281. None of those were around when the Spurs played in the Alamo Dome 25, 30 years ago. The other opportunity that we'll have is if you can think about those downtown parking garages that close on our event nights, those are natural conversations for us to have at the right time. How do we enter into agreements with them for our fans? And then I guess the last piece, as we look at VIA's expansion in the Silver and Green Line, how are we incentivizing fans to take a Silver and Green Line or to take park and ride, not only to come to basketball games or concerts, but to make trips to the plaza and enjoy recreation? The bigger we become, the modes of transportation will change. Now, I've seen in other media outlets, as we say, that you or Peter Holt has said that about 25% of your season ticket holders are from outside of Bexar County. Mostly, where are they from? Are they coming in from Travis County, from Austin, or from South Texas? I think we're pretty proud of just the collaboration of people that want to come to a game in San Antonio. So I would say outside of Bexar County, think Comal County, Kendall County, all our neighboring counties for sure. We actually have, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but a pretty big contingent of fans from northern Mexico. That where Monterrey, Mexico is home. Some of them live in San Antonio, but a lot of them will come back and forth. And another large contingent from the Valley, Lower Valley, people that will make the trip on a daily basis from Laredo or our southern neighbors to the games every night. Yeah. How about from Austin? Because, I mean, you're trying to expand your fan base to take in Austin. How's that going? Great point. How's it reflected in season ticket sales? So I think what you might be referring to, we made a conscious effort, probably started about 4 years ago, to target the I-35 corridor. Right. So from Mexico to Austin, Texas. We have been playing G League basketball in Austin, Texas, maybe for 17 years now. Have about 25 employees, 30 employees in Austin, Texas. And so we will aggressively market Austin, Texas fans to come buy tickets here and come to games here. And it's growing. We're getting better. And I think as we think of this region, if you put San Antonio, I-35, New Braunfels, Austin, San Marcos, all those, that whole corridor, you go from a defined market area of 35, 36, 37 to 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. And so that it's powerful for branding and trying to make the next step.
Let's talk about the price tag for the arena.
Of course.
One of the main sticking points for opponents of Prop B has been that the Spurs are not going to pay for the total cost. To be clear to viewers, the Spurs would put in $500 million for the $1.3 billion arena, and the rest would come from different city and county sources. Why not pay for the entire thing yourselves?
So let's hit the sources where they're coming from. First and foremost, venue tax and state hotel motel tax. The only people paying for those are visitors to San Antonio, not unless you or Greg have stayed in a downtown San Antonio hotel in the last 60 days, right?
Yeah, you're leaving this vacationers out. What about this
right.
vacationer?
That's right, and they're part of it. Yeah. But that is the main source, and this source in Texas is building an arena in downtown Dallas right now. Has built arenas in Fort Worth, Texas, and so when we have stayed in Dallas or Fort Worth, we've paid for those arenas and those convention center expansions. So I think this is a really smart tool for our community to use, take, and apply to our community. And if we don't use it, it goes back to the state of Texas or it doesn't get used at all. So that $800 million of that visitor tax, that hotel motel tax, is source one. The second source for the $1.3 billion arena is our company, and that's the Spurs will put in $500, and then the Spurs will pay for all cost overruns. And I think that's one of the things that we've been studying quite a bit to understand before we finalize the term sheet. That will be a significant number. And
you've got to be alarmed.
Community won't do it.
Yeah, I mean, with the fluctuation of interest rates, you got to be worried. And with everything that's happening with tariffs, kind of exacerbating what was already kind of a bad inflationary environment.
Absolutely. And I tell you what we've done in order to kind of understand and manage that. We have gone through a long, comprehensive study internally, brought in lots of external experts to help us understand that on the construction side, on the development side, on the property management side. And we feel comfortable this is a risk that we can manage and tolerate. And that's the best structure about this. So visitors pay, Spurs pay, local San Antonio.
So this is in your agreement to pay cost over. That's in the term sheet.
It is,
which is non-binding, though.
It is.
Is it possible that at the very end of this, we wind up with an agreement where we're kind of sharing with the city cost overruns? Or are you saying that the Spurs? Are you saying right now the Spurs are going to cover everything? So now and in the future.
So I'll try to answer both questions. I think there's two in there.
There are.
And so the first...
A badly placed question.
Here's my first effort. You guys we'll ask again, I'm certain.
Yeah, okay.
So right now and tomorrow, our representation is we will pay for cost overruns and we will pay for operations of the arena. That's a big lift and not the taxpayer. And so that is today, and that is tomorrow, and that is when we have to go back to city council to get the development agreement approved.
Yeah.
And so that is in and locked and in the term sheet. Even though it is non-binding, that was an important piece during the discussion so we can make this representation to the community because we want the community to think that this is fair. And that's a threshold issue for us. We think this is a fair deal, and we have to maintain that piece. I forgot your other question.
That's it.
All right.
It was so badly put. No, I mean that's it. In the end, when we get past the term sheet and down to a final agreement, assuming everything breaks your way in this election, is that final agreement going to have the Spurs taking on all the risk for cost overruns?
Yes, it absolutely will. And that's a real important note. And I think the backstop for the community is we have a city council that's going to check everything. We have a professional city staff and the manager and his team that will double check everything, and they won't present it unless they get what they believe is fair.
Now, Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones, she broached the possibility of the city working out some kind of revenue sharing agreement back in the summer, and she's still talking about it. At various points, I think I've seen you say, no, that's really not anything we're willing to discuss, and Peter Holt has said the same thing. Why not?
So I think the structure of the deal requires us to control all the revenues. We have all the risk in the transaction. So I'll go back to those funding sources, right? Visitor tax, hotel motel tax paid by a visitor, the balance of the risk, cost overruns, and infrastructure development and real-time development is all on us. And we have to make sure that we have all those revenues in place. Once the election passes, we're just like any other company. We have to be financially viable. And then we have to go to our lending partners and say, here's our plan and here's our revenue to support this debt that we're going to take on and build out this vision and this plan.
So for that, you need every dime of revenue from naming rights, parking, concessions.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what we've shared with mayor and council and publicly and all those meetings on that has come up.
Right. Now, in, I believe it was 2021, Spurs Sports and Entertainment, you basically recapitalized. I mean, you brought in Michael Dell, you brought in Sixth Street Partners from San Francisco, you brought in Joe Gebbia, and these are, this happened over the course of a year or so, Kimberly Lewis and several others. So, these are, billionaires in some cases, in I think every case actually, and they bought out local ownership. What was the objective in bringing in this new money?
So I will answer, but just so we get aligned, you use the word recapitalize, and so to me that's got a real distinct term.
Okay.
And so we didn't recapitalize.
Okay.
So what happened in that time frame? The Holtz came in mid-90s, had a controlling interest. Alongside them were a great handful of local San Antonians. And also alongside them were some very large companies, Valero, AT&T, Aramark, all publicly traded entities. And in 2020, 2021 timeframe, there was an interest from all those limited partners to sell. And so that's what the transaction
Any
was.
idea why? Why then? Why did these local shareholders want out?
I think maybe the timing, the valuation of the company had gotten large, and maybe it was time for them to just move on, whether it was their own personal reasons. They just had an opportunity and they decided to exercise it. Yeah. And that's really what happened.
So you bring in new investors. They replace about a dozen local investors, something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. But not only are you bringing new money in, you're now calling them strategic partners. And to me, that implies that they have, they're talking with Peter Holt about operations and how the team runs. And I would assume that includes the arena. Were these new investors involved in arena talks about moving from Frost Bank Center to a downtown arena?
So I think the great thing for our community and our company with that transaction was the Holt family, Peter, Corinna, solidified their control position in our company. And so the strategic advisors are all limited partners. And so the Holt family has controlling majority interest. And
what percentage?
I'm not going to share the percentage, but under the league rules, they are responsible for all decisions related to team operations, company, and sport. And under the league rules, that's the NBA needs to have one person accountable. And so not only are they accountable to the rest of their shareholders, they're accountable to everybody in our organization, in our community. And so we're fortunate that they've got this great vision for us on how we're moving forward.
So, are you saying no input from the new investors on the arena, or?
I would say
it seems like they would have an opinion about that.
I would say it's like any other business, right? You go to your business partners, you give them some concepts, you share with them what the opportunities are and what the risks are, and get input.
I want to jump back to the financing pieces quickly with the hotel piece. Some of the bonds would essentially be backed by this hotel tax revenue. The summer was a tough one for a lot of hotel owners downtown. Things have been a little sluggish. Some tourists are worried about the economy. Some people don't like the heat and don't want to deal with that. It's just been a little bit.
Germans.
Particularly Germans
do not like the heat.
It's not a fun time. If the projections are off for what's expected to come in, what happens then as far as the repayment?
So back to where the risk sits, it will rest with our company. And so through the process, right, we're looking at a transaction that will play out over the next 30 years on the arena. On the land positions where we have to develop, we envision even longer. And so this is the spot in time that we're in today may not be testing well, but sitting with our experts, we're looking at that 30-year and longer plan. And we're confident that the viability not only of this section of downtown, but our community is one that will grow. And I'm certain you guys had a chance to take a look at our economic impact study because it's been posted on the city website for some time. And a lot of those factors were included and reviewed. And we trust them, we believe in them to make a real substantial investment in San Antonio.
Now, I received one of your mailers the other day, and it was all about the city commissioned economic impact study on Project Marvel, which did not actually include any bit on the Spurs arena at Hemisphere, but relied on your consultant for that. Now, the city study was conducted by CSL International, which is kind of majority owned by Sixth Street Partners, which is a conflict. That's a problem that both Councilwoman Terry Castillo has pointed out, and that Mayor Jones has focused on. So I thought it was interesting. Why are you taking an economic impact statement that's kind of the independence of which has been called into question and using that as a basis for selling this proposition B and A to voters?
I think we called it out because we wanted to, do a couple of things. One, there was a study performed by an entity that's been doing work for the city of San Antonio for 20 years. The Legends company that purchased CSL was fairly recent. And then we wanted to highlight our economic impact study. And studies are tools. And at the end of the day, since we have all the risk, we'll have to make a decision on how we're managing it. But we're confident in the studies that we did to be able to shoulder that risk and invest some real capital in San Antonio.
Yeah. Now, in various settings, Peter Holt, who is the managing partner of SS&E, he said, when asked, as Madison asked, why isn't the Spurs just writing a check for this thing? He says, look, we're a small market team. We don't have that kind of capacity. What exactly does that mean? Kind of walk us through that argument.
So I think let's use a couple of comparables right now. I think we're probably as a community most familiar. The mayor of Oklahoma City was here in our community not too long ago at a ULI event talking about small market versus large market in the NBA. And so there's 29 other NBA cities and San Antonio makes 30. We probably sit at 27, 28 on size. And so when we compete for, whether it's for talent, not only on the court, but off the court, whether that's coaches or all our data scientists, our healthcare professionals, our building engineers, we're competing against the biggest markets in the United States. So using the Oklahoma City as a comp, that community voted for a building and funded it 95%, team paid 5%. Yeah. Small market teams, in order to compete in the NBA, I'd look at that lower quadrant. All of them are examples of publicly funded facilities. I think we're excited about the opportunity we're investing in our community. I would say it's at the higher than all of those, and we're glad to do it and excited to do it. Yeah. And the transaction is won over time, right? And I guess to answer the question, in order to generate enough money to build the building, we need the public support to do it.
Right. So it's not something the Spurs can't. You don't have the financial capacity to build a new arena.
No, building the new arena with the visitor tax is a necessary tool for this project.
But absent that, not happening. Stay where you're at. Okay. Now, are the Spurs as an organization, are you profitable?
Well,
do you turn a profit?
NBA is competitive, and some years we do well, and some years, we got to break even and do our best.
Okay. How are you doing this year? And this is not, I'm not saying you've maybe made so much money this year you could build. But are you profitable this year?
Well, our year starts on July 1. Yeah. So we're great. Yeah. So we just started, and I hope you guys
haven't lost anything at this point.
Have a chance to go out. We're home openers in about 10 days, 15 days, and we're right around the corner. And so hopefully fans will come out, and the team will play great. Okay. That's the goal.
We're a few weeks out from, or less than a few weeks, I guess now, from early voting. I got a text the other day to a poll asking me my thoughts about Prop B. What has your polling showed so far about the likelihood of it passing?
And we're assuming that was from the Spurs.
Yes. I think there's a few polls going around out there. Yeah. And so here's where the feedback that we're getting from the voters. Once people are advised that tourists are paying for this public portion in the hotel motel tax and the visitor tax, they are supportive. And we feel really good about that message. So that's probably why you've seen a lot of that in the mail and the advertising that you get, because it does well. And it pushes people from, I don't know about this, to yes, I'm going to vote for this. And so that we're excited about. And so we're going to continue sharing that message because it's true, it's factual, and it's accurate. And then the other part of the message that does really, really well with the voter is the Spurs paying for the cost overruns on the arena and the Spurs investing collectively $2 billion back into the community. This is our maybe fifth decade. We've been in this community for 52, 53 years. Mm-hmm. We have 500 full-time employees that are taxpayers and residents and work here and raise their families here. There's not many San Antonio companies today that are putting $2 billion into their city. And so we're excited about that, and we're looking forward to that. And we hope people will say, you know what, you're right, I'm voting for Prop A and Prop B.
Now, one element we're hearing from voters, like on social media, in conversation, is the idea that, like, look, if this doesn't pass and the Spurs don't get a new arena, they're gone. They're gonna talk with Seattle, Las Vegas, maybe Austin, but maybe not. But the future of the team isn't secure without it. Is that the case?
Greg, we believe that San Antonians hear the message and they're going to come out and vote yes. Mm-hmm. And
well, let me finish
this piece up, though, right?
Go ahead.
Because I think once they hear the message that visitors are paying and we're covering everything else, they're like, yes, we're in, and we support that vision and dream, and that's where we're at. Right. And we're focused on that 100%.
Okay, let's forget for a moment about the election and just get down to it. If this doesn't pass and there is no downtown arena, are the Spurs going to consider other cities, other options, not San Antonio?
You know what? We're 6 days out from the start of early voting. There's nothing else to consider right now other than passing Prop B.
You could just answer the question.
That's my answer.
Okay, but why not answer the question? I mean, is it that fear is actually, and not to be super crass about it, but it works in this case for the Spurs. That fear in the community that if this doesn't pass, there is a chance the team leaves.
We've got a tremendous amount of people in our organization, people outside our organization, people in our community that are supporting our message. Mm-hmm. And they're supporting a visitor-funded message with the Spurs carrying everything else. Mm-hmm. That's what we're focused on. Yeah. And if others out there want to, put some other ideas and concepts, that's okay. It's part of the process, right? And we're totally good with that. I think what we're going to do and what we are doing is focusing on our message for November 4th And I hope I have convinced you two guys to get out and vote yes for Prop B, and others to go out and vote yes for Prop B. That's it.
Trust me, I've gotten every one of your mailers.
That's good. That means you're hitting the model, right?
Yeah. Apparently. So I think. Say, like I said earlier, say everything breaks your way on election day, and this, you prevail with Prop B. I just get the feeling that as you get closer to an agreement, a final agreement with the city and county, somebody is going to step up and say, no more home games in Austin. What do you say to that?
I guess we'll have to, discuss it when it comes, and that, maybe could be an issue. But I hope that as we build out the corridor, people see the opportunity. Many of our San Antonio businesses, your business, right, markets to counties outside of San Antonio.
And rumor has it. Yeah.
And I think that's a way for businesses to grow, showcase our community and our culture to visitors outside of San Antonio. Yeah. And I think it's a great opportunity for everybody.
Do you feel a little stuck as a business? Because, every time you go to Bexar County Commissioner's Court to get an amendment to play in Austin, because it's not part of your relocation agreement with the county. Like you have to get special dispensation to do this.
That's right.
Fans freak out. As you know, and it's not an easy sell at Commissioner's Court for that reason, because it's like, oh my God, they're playing in Austin, they must want to move there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, your strategy has been to try to expand the fan base. Like the way I understand the plan is, it's from Austin to the northern Mexico, and that kind of secures the team's place in San Antonio. So how do you square that? I mean, how do you reassure the fan who's worried about Austin games?
I think a starting point is really, this election's a great example, our commitment to the community and over a $2 billion investment. I guess the other thing that I would add is that our office for our NBA players and coaching staff, that was a brand new investment by our team and club right at 1604 and I-10, and that's a 48-acre complex where we do pro sports, we have parks, and just another great stakeholder of our testament and our commitment to San Antonio.
Yeah.
If Prop B doesn't pass, have other cities approached the Spurs at this point about considering coming to their turf?
I'm going to have the same answer for you. We're just totally focused on what we've got in front of us in the next 7 days for early voting. And again, we really, really like our message and where we're at.
So, and I get the feeling I know what you're going to say. So if I don't believe, as a business enterprise, a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, you are a multi-billion, right?
I guess Forbes will say so. That's right.
Yeah, that's coming out. Yeah. So I just don't believe you've done no contingency planning for what happens if Prop B fails. Can you give me some idea of, just be as vague as you like, what happens if it goes down? I know you're focused on this passing. What if it doesn't?
I think since November 24, I believe that was a date that Eric Walsh presented some concepts to City Council. So we were talking about this for quite a bit of time before that as well. This is what we're focused on. and so you're right. You're right in predicting my answer. And this is what we have been just spending our time on. In order for us to get comfortable with making a $2 billion investment, it takes a tremendous amount of work from big teams on inside our company, big teams outside our company, and making sure we're giving our investors the right information to help us make decisions. So
you long ago, maybe you probably consider it in another lifetime, you were a city council member for District 1. How does it feel now to be crosswise with Cops Metro? They do not want a dime in public funding to go to a Spurs arena.
I think our local public process is wonderful. I'm a believer in it, and even when I was an elected official, I wasn't always on the same page with Cops Metro, but I do believe in their right to get out and do what they think is best.
One of the points of confusion, I think, among at least some of our readers has been kind of if Prop A passes, the link between Prop A and B, essentially. Yeah. A lot of the campaign has focused on the two, of course, the rodeo plan and the arena plan. But one question that I've at least gotten a lot is, if the arena plan doesn't pass, does the rodeo plan happen, and vice versa? Or do the two both have to pass for everything to happen?
I can't answer for the rodeo, but having been in a lot of these public meetings, I think we're both aligned that we're looking forward to passage of Prop A and B on November 4th, and that's where we're headed.
So in this first campaign for Prop B, I think the organization is pretty fully embracing Project Marvel, the city's proposed sports and entertainment district that will kind of develop around an arena if voters agree. But this is a fairly controversial plan. Was there any consideration on the Spurs of maybe not embracing it, not identifying the campaign with Project Marvel to the extent you have in your literature and advertising?
I think then, and there's been, I know you guys talked with the county judge about it and just the distinction between the sports entertainment district and Project Marvel.
That nobody draws that.
Yeah, and nobody does. And so I think what we're embracing is the ITC site and that land right around it. Mm-hmm. The convention center expansion, a new hotel, an Alamo Dome project. Even in our town hall last night, the city manager was talking about those being separate, apart, and distinct. Now, the community doesn't always align with that because it's all put together, and we get that. Mm-hmm. We're focused on that sports entertainment district that we would operate and that we're guaranteeing.
Okay.
If Prop B passes, the arena gets built, just walk us through some of the differences between what fans will see Frost Bank Center versus the new arena. We've talked about the size. It's a different location, but just paint a picture for us based on your conversations about the design and how it would look and all of that.
No, great question. I think to start, and I think Greg's pointed it out, we have a road to go to get into final terms with the city and the county on that deal. In that will be, I'd say, a very healthy design process, and where we would go out, if you think of stakeholders, the Southtown, the Lavacas, the Victoria Commons, the business operators and owners all in the central business district, and then the community at large, making sure that we get robust input on the continuation of what placemaking looks like. So to kind of maybe give you a picture, we've got a couple of great examples in our community, and whether it's the Pearl, the activation that happens out there on a weekly, daily, weekend basis, where we're trying to be at the Rocket La Cantera, where we try to activate even as recently as this weekend, whether it's college football Saturday or Thursday night NFL, that open plaza that has splash pads and restaurants, and that's available for everybody in the community. And then in the morning and the daytime, it transitions to yoga in the park, whether it's fairs or festivals, and being adjacent to the new park. Great opportunity. And that's one that, I mean, as a San Antonio resident, gets me really excited, and great placemaking at a great part of our downtown.
Have you picked development partners?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Are you holding off until after the election?
Yes.
On finalizing that?
Yes.
Are you talking with them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, last question. Land bridge. Do you actually need a land bridge?
The land bridge looks, pretty amazing. And do we need a land bridge to do what we
for
need
that site to work? Yeah. In terms of retail, like everything, all of the activity you want around the arena. Yeah. Does it need?
It would be great to have, but what we do need to have is connectivity, a really healthy connectivity to the Robert Thompson Transit Center, to the site.
Yeah.
And so that has to be part of the decision and the ideation. Mm-hmm. Because you want to make sure you're connecting the east side to that part of town. Hopefully in the future, a land bridge becomes an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's happening in Texas cities right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. I know I said last, I always do this. Last question, got a dozen more. This might be the last question, might not be. Now, after the election, if Prop B passes, what's next? And what's the time frame for a final agreement with the city and county, right?
I think there's a couple of thresholds. One, the term sheet called it out. We have to advance fund the acquisition of the General Services Administration sites. So the parking lots south of Cesar Chavez and the 6-story white building right there on Cesar Chavez. So that's, again, on the Spurs. And in the term sheet, it says $30 million. So that transaction needs to happen. I will take council, sign off. And then building out those agreements that talk about funding and design with the city and the county. Because it'll be the arena will be publicly owned. And it'll be owned by the city and the county. And you guys might remember some of those deal points. We have to pay a rent. We have that in there. We have to figure out what the development schedule is. And then we got to problem solve all the risk issues in writing. And so that'll probably it'll take a healthy amount of time. Yeah. And then we'll vote on that, and the city council will vote on it, and then we'll start that design process.
And would the Spurs remain at Frost Bank Center through the end of the lease, or any chance like you to leave a year or two earlier than?
We've talked about that a lot too, but I think based on what we're hearing from both public entities, if this passes and when this passes, doing the financial deal would line up with us staying through 2032.
All right, cool. I think that actually was the last question. So, Bobby Perez, thank you very much. We
good to
really
see you guys.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
And thank you for joining us. If you've not signed up for our new and improved ENside Politics, it really is new and improved. That's shit. Drop to show notes, click on it, and sign up. Well worth the few keystrokes it would take to do all of that. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.